The ruins of the alien city smelled of smoke and fear. Marcus, a human soldier left behind after the last battle, moved carefully between broken walls. His boots crunched on glass, and his eyes scanned every shadow. The war had ended weeks ago, but danger still lived in these streets. He thought he was alone until a hand grabbed his arm. He turned sharply, ready to fight. A cloaked figure stood before him, shaking, breathing fast. The figure pushed back the hood, and Marcus froze. It was not just any alien. Her face carried the noble marks of royalty glowing lines under her eyes, delicate and sharp, with silver hair falling across her shoulders. And beside her, clutching her cloak, was a little girl with the same glowing lines. The woman's voice trembled as she whispered, "Take me as your concubine." "Please, or they will kill us," Marcus blinked. He thought he had misheard. A princess of the enemy, begging him? He looked down at the child. Her small hand clutched his sleeve, her eyes wide and wet with fear. "Why me?" Marcus asked, his voice low. "Why a human?" The woman looked around nervously. In the distance, heavy boots echoed against the stone streets. Alien soldiers were searching. Her words came quickly, desperate. "Only a human can shield me. If you claim me as bound by your law, they cannot take me. Without you, they will burn me and my daughter before sunrise." Marcus felt his heart race. This was madness. He was a soldier, not a savior. If other humans found him protecting her, they would call him a traitor. But if he left her here, she and the child were as good as dead. The little girl tugged his arm softly and whispered, "Please." "Are you my father now?" Marcus looked into her trembling eyes and felt something twist in his chest. He remembered his own daughter back on Earth, lost to sickness before the war had begun. That pain had never left him. Now this child, alien yet so innocent, looked at him with the same hope. The sound of boots grew louder. Torches flickered in the distance. Soldiers were closing in. Marcus pulled the cloak tighter over the woman and her daughter, motioning for silence. "Follow me," he whispered. He did not know why he said it. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was guilt. Or maybe it was something deeper, something human. They ran through the ruins, slipping between walls and rubble. Twice, the little girl nearly cried out when shadows passed close, but Marcus covered her mouth gently and kept moving. The princess held her daughter tight, her breath ragged, her body trembling. At one corner, Marcus stopped suddenly. 2 alien guards stood at the end of the alley. He pulled the princess back, pressing her against the wall. Her face was inches from his, her silver eyes reflecting the firelight. "If they see us," Marcus whispered, "I can't protect you." Her lips parted, her voice breaking. "Then make it real. Claim me. Say I am yours." Marcus stared at her. In human law, concubine meant possession, protection, belonging. But here in the ashes of war, the word meant survival. The guards turned, moving closer. The child buried her face against Marcus's chest. He knew he had only seconds. He stepped into the alley, standing tall, the princess and child behind him. The guards raised their spears, eyes narrowing. Marcus spoke loudly, his voice firm. "She is mine. The child is mine. Touch them, and you answer to me." The guards hesitated. The rules of war were old and strange, but one thing was clear. Humans had rights even on alien ground. To touch what a human claimed was to invite punishment from both sides. The guards exchanged uncertain looks, then slowly backed away into the smoke. Marcus let out a breath he had not realized he was holding. He turned to the princess. She was staring at him, her lips trembling, her eyes shining with something between relief and disbelief. "You saved us," she whispered. Marcus shook his head. "No, I just bought us time." The sound of more soldiers echoed down the street. The chase was not over. And Marcus realized with a heavy heart that by speaking those words, by claiming them, his life had just changed forever. Asterisk. The night pressed heavy on the ruined city. Smoke still drifted from broken towers, and the cries of soldiers echoed like ghosts. Marcus moved quickly, guiding the princess and her daughter through narrow alleys. His heart pounded with each step. He had spoken words that changed everything. He had claimed them as his. Now there was no turning back. Behind them, the sound of boots grew louder. The alien soldiers were not fooled. They knew their princess had vanished, and they would tear apart the city to find her. The little girl stumbled, nearly falling. Marcus caught her arm and lifted her against his chest. She clung to him, her small fingers digging into his uniform. "They're coming," she whispered, her voice shaking. Marcus looked at the princess. Her silver eyes glowed faintly in the moonlight, wide with fear. Yet she walked close, shielding her daughter with her cloak. "If they catch us, they will not just kill me," she said softly. "They will make her watch first." The words struck Marcus like a blade. He tightened his grip on the child and quickened his pace. They reached a collapsed street, where broken stones blocked the way forward. Through there, the princess pointed to a narrow crack between two fallen walls. "It leads to the old tunnels." Marcus pushed through, forcing the princess and child inside first. Dust fell on their faces as they crawled through the gap. On the other side, the darkness opened into a forgotten passage under the city. The tunnels smelled of damp earth and rot. Echoes carried strange whispers, making it hard to tell if footsteps came from behind or ahead. Marcus pulled a small light from his belt, the faint glow barely enough to see. The girl clutched his shoulder. "It's scary," she murmured. Marcus whispered back, "Stay quiet. We'll be safe soon." But even as he said the words, he knew safety was far away. The princess walked close to him, her breath shallow. "You don't understand," she whispered. "By claiming me, you placed yourself between two worlds. Your people will call you traitor. Mine will call you thief. No side will forgive you." Marcus gave a small, bitter smile. "I'm used to being hated." Suddenly, a sound echoed down the tunnel, metal scraping stone. Torches flared in the distance. Soldiers were inside. The chase had not ended. Marcus turned sharply, pulling them into a side chamber where collapsed pillars created shadows. He motioned for silence, placing the child gently on the ground. The princess crouched low, holding her daughter close, her eyes never leaving Marcus. The soldiers entered the chamber slowly, their torches lighting the damp walls. They spoke in harsh alien tones, words Marcus didn't understand, but the anger in their voices was clear. One soldier stepped closer, his torch sweeping dangerously near their hiding place. The little girl's lips trembled. Marcus quickly covered her mouth with his hand, his eyes locked on hers. She stilled, trusting him. The soldier's torch passed by, missing them by inches. For a long moment, Marcus did not breathe. Then the soldiers moved deeper into the tunnels, their light fading. Only then did Marcus lower his hand, whispering, "You're brave." "Just a little longer." The princess leaned close. "Why do you help us?" "You could walk away." Marcus looked at her, his jaw tight. "Because I couldn't save my own child. Maybe I can save yours." Her eyes softened for the first time, and she whispered, "Then perhaps fate chose you." Before Marcus could answer, a distant rumble shook the ground. Stones fell from the ceiling. The tunnels were unstable, ready to collapse. And worse, the sound of soldiers returned, louder this time, echoing from both directions. They were trapped. Marcus lifted the child again and gritted his teeth. He looked at the princess. "Stay close. If we die moving forward." The princess nodded, her face pale but determined. Together, they ran deeper into the darkness, chased by enemies and hunted by fate, with only one fragile hope, the bond Marcus had claimed with a single desperate lie. The tunnel stretched on for hours, twisting and broken. Finally, Marcus led the princess and her daughter into a small chamber where fallen stones blocked most of the entrances. It was safer here, at least for the moment. He set the child down gently and lit a small fire from the scraps of wood he carried. The glow flickered across the cracked walls, painting shadows that seemed alive. The princess sat across from him, pulling her cloak tightly around her. Her daughter leaned against her side, eyelids heavy but refusing to sleep. Marcus stared into the flames, his thoughts heavy. The little girl broke the silence first. Her voice was soft, almost shy. "Are you my father now?" Marcus's chest tightened. He looked at her tiny, frightened, yet so full of hope. For a moment, he saw his own daughter's face. He remembered holding her small hand back on earth, the hospital bed, the sickness he could not fight. He had failed her. And now this child, alien yet innocent, asked the same question that haunted him. His voice caught, rough and uncertain. "I don't know." The girl's eyes watered, and she turned to bury her face against her mother. The princess stroked her daughter's hair, then lifted her gaze to Marcus. Her silver eyes reflected the firelight, sharp yet tired. "You must decide soon," she said softly. "If you walk away, they will kill us by morning. If you stay, you risk your own kind turning against you. But there is no middle path." Marcus rubbed his forehead, his mind racing. "Why me? Why not one of your own people? Why put this on me?" The princess lowered her head, her voice trembling. "Because my people have already betrayed me. I was promised to a powerful noble, but I refused him. I would not let my daughter be raised in his shadow. For that, they called me traitor. Only a human's claim can protect me now. Your law binds stronger than theirs. That is why I begged you." Marcus stared at her, his jaw tight. He had fought against her kind, seen humans die in this war. She was the enemy. Yet when he looked at her daughter, he did not see an enemy, only a child who wanted to live. Silence filled the chamber again, broken only by the crackle of the fire. Marcus's hands shook slightly as he held them to the warmth. He had spent years fighting, killing, surviving. He was good at following orders. But this was different. No commander, no plan, no orders. Only a choice. The princess leaned forward, her voice barely above a whisper. "You think I offered myself to you for lust? No, I offered myself because I had no other way. A concubine, to them, means shame. But if it means my daughter lives, then I will bear that shame." Marcus looked at her. Her shoulders shook, but her eyes did not leave his. She was strong, stronger than he expected, yet carrying pain too heavy for one person. He felt the fire inside him stir again, the fire he thought had died with his own family. Suddenly, the ground trembled. Dust rained down from the ceiling. Marcus stood instantly, hand on his weapon. The princess pulled her daughter close, fear flashing in her eyes. Distant voices echoed through the tunnel's. "Alien soldiers, closer now," the girl whimpered. Marcus knelt beside her, pressing a finger to his lips. "Quiet," he whispered. She nodded, tears shining but no sound escaping her lips. The princess's voice was urgent. "They will find us. If you still wish to leave us, go now. They will not follow you far." Marcus looked at her, then at the child. His heart pounded like a war drum. He could walk away, vanish into the ruins, and no one would call him traitor. Or he could stay, fight, and protect two souls who had nothing left but him. The firelight flickered across his face as he whispered to himself. "Damn it!" He stood tall, gripping his weapon. "I'm not leaving." The princess's lips parted, her eyes wide with shock. The girl's tiny hand slipped into his, holding tight. Marcus glanced at them both, his voice firm. "If I claim you, then you're mine. And if you're mine, then I'll fight anyone who tries to take you away." The princess's breath caught. For the first time, a spark of hope lit her eyes. But before she could speak, the sound of footsteps grew louder. Soldiers were coming. The fire burned low, shadows dancing on the walls. The moment of choice was over. Now came the test. The sound of footsteps grew louder in the tunnels. Marcus moved quickly, leading the princess and her daughter through twisting paths until a faint light appeared ahead. They emerged into the night, gasping for air, their clothes covered in dust. The city ruins stretched wide under the pale moon. For a moment, Marcus thought they had escaped. But then a sharp command cut through the silence. "Freeze!" Marcus turned slowly. A group of human soldiers stood in the open, rifles raised, their armor marked with the same insignia Marcus once wore. His own people. Relief washed over him for a heartbeat, until he saw the coldness in their eyes. The commander stepped forward, a scarred man Marcus recognized from past battles. "Marcus Halle," he said firmly. "Drop your weapon." "Step away from the alien." Marcus's jaw tightened. He shifted slightly, keeping the princess and her daughter behind him. "She's under my protection," he said. The soldiers exchanged glances. Then the commander's voice grew sharp. "Protection? Don't play games. You're hiding the enemy's horror. You think we don't know what you've done?" The words cut deep. Marcus felt heat rise in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "She's not what you think. They'll kill her and the child. I couldn't let that happen." The commander spat on the ground. "You betrayed your own kind for her? After everything they did to us? Look around, Marcus. Our brothers burned in this city because of them. And now you stand there shielding one?" The princess clutched her daughter closer. The little girl buried her face in her mother's cloak, trembling. Marcus raised his hand slowly, trying to steady the moment. "I didn't betray anyone. I made a choice. You don't have to like it, but I won't let you hurt them," one soldier muttered. "He's lost his mind." Another lifted his rifle higher. The commander narrowed his eyes. "Last chance, Hala. Step aside. Hand her over, and maybe we'll forget this." Marcus looked at the princess. Her silver eyes locked on his, full of fear but also trust. Then he looked at the child clutching his leg. His chest tightened. He could not abandon them. He shook his head. "No, you'll have to go through me." Silence fell. The soldiers stiffened. Then the commander's face twisted with anger. "So be it." With a sharp motion, the rifles clicked, ready to fire. Marcus moved fast. He threw himself into the rubble, pulling the princess and child down with him as bullets shattered stone around them. The night filled with gunfire, sparks flying in the ruins. "Run!" Marcus shouted, grabbing the princess's arm. They darted between broken walls, soldiers shouting behind them. The princess's breath came in ragged gasps. "They're your people. Why do they hunt us?" Marcus growled, firing back blindly to slow the pursuit. "Because in their eyes, saving you makes me a traitor. In war, compassion looks like weakness." The little girl whimpered, clinging tightly as Marcus carried her again. The princess stumbled beside him, but determination burned in her steps. They slid down a collapsed street, stones crashing under their weight. At the bottom, they ducked into another shattered building. Marcus pressed his back to the wall, panting hard. The princess knelt, trying to calm her daughter, who shook with sobs. "They won't stop," she whispered. Marcus checked his weapon. "Then neither will I." Outside, the commander's voice echoed through the ruins. "Marcus, you can't run forever. Hand her over, and we'll make your death quick. Keep resisting, and we'll burn you alive with her." Marcus felt the weight of those words. His own comrades' men he had fought beside now hunted him like an enemy. But when he looked at the princess and her child, something inside him hardened. He whispered to himself, "Then I'll stand against everyone if I must." The princess touched his arm lightly, her voice low but fierce. "You already gave us more than I hoped for. If we die with honor. But if we live..." Her eyes shone with something like hope. "Then maybe fate truly sent you." The little girl looked up at Marcus, tears streaking her small face. "Don't let them take us." Marcus crouched low, his weapon ready, his voice steady. They'll have to kill me first. The night air grew colder. The ruins fell silent for a moment, but Marcus knew it was only the calm before the storm. His choice was made. His own people had turned on him, and now there was no path back. Only forward. Only survival. The ruins ended where the forest began. Marcus led the princess and her daughter out of the broken city and into the wild night. The trees here were nothing like Earth's tall spires with glowing veins running through their bark, casting ghostly blue light on the forest floor. Strange sounds echoed in the distance, low growls, wing beats, the hiss of unseen creatures. The princess pulled her cloak tighter around her daughter, who clung to Marcus's neck as he carried her. The little girl's eyes darted everywhere, fear written on her small face. Marcus whispered, "Stay quiet." The forest listens. They moved deeper into the glowing wilderness. The ground was damp and soft, covered in thick moss that squelched under their boots. Above them, the trees swayed without wind, their branches moving as if alive. The princess walked close, her voice low. "This place is dangerous. Even my people do not cross it at night." Marcus glanced at her. "Then why lead us here?" "Because it is the only path your soldiers will not follow," she replied. "They fear the forest more than death." A low rumble shook the ground. The little girl gasped and buried her face in Marcus's shoulder. He stopped, raising a hand for silence. From the shadows between the glowing trees, two enormous shapes emerged. Their bodies were covered in armored scales that shimmered blue, and their eyes burned like embers. Their teeth gleamed as they growled, circling closer. The princess whispered sharply, "Forest stalkers. They hunt in pairs." Marcus tightened his grip on the child and raised his weapon. "Then they'll find we bite back." The first beast lunged, crashing through the moss. Marcus fired, the blast lighting up the trees. The creature shrieked, wounded but not dead. The second circled behind, moving toward the princess. She grabbed a fallen branch and held it like a spear, her hands trembling but firm. The child cried out, "Mother!" Marcus swung around, shouting, "Stay down." He fired again, hitting the second stalker in the shoulder. It roared, shaking the ground, but instead of attacking, the two beasts backed away into the shadows, their glowing eyes watching. Then slowly, they vanished into the forest. The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by the sound of Marcus's breathing. He lowered his weapon, scanning the darkness. "They're not gone," the princess warned. "They'll follow us for hours, waiting for weakness." Marcus cursed under his breath. He looked at the child, who was shaking in his arms. Her tears soaked his uniform, but she didn't make a sound. He stroked her hair gently. "You're brave. You did good." They pushed on, deeper into the glowing maze. Hours passed. The forest whispered around them, alive with strange sounds. Marcus finally found a small clearing under a wide stone arch. It was safer here, shielded from above. He set the child down, and she curled against her mother's side. Exhausted, Marcus sat near the edge, weapon in hand, eyes on the trees. The princess looked at him, her silver eyes reflecting the glow. "Why do you keep fighting for us?" she asked softly. Marcus didn't answer at first. He stared into the darkness, then said, "Because when I look at her, I see my own daughter. And I'll be damned if I let her die the way mine did." The princess's breath caught. For a moment, the weight of her fear lifted, replaced by quiet understanding. She reached into her cloak and pulled out a necklace, a small pendant shaped like a crest, glowing faintly with royal symbols. She held it out to him. "This is my bloodline," she said. "It is why they hunt us. With this, my daughter could one day claim the throne. But only if she lives long enough. Do you see now why I begged you?" Marcus took the pendant, its glow warm in his hand. He looked at the child, asleep against her mother, and then back at the princess. He understood now this was more than survival. This was destiny. A distant howl cut through the night. The stalkers were still out there. Marcus tightened his grip on his weapon and whispered, "Then we'll keep her alive. No matter what it takes." The princess met his eyes. In the blue glow of the forest, something unspoken passed between them. Fear, hope, and a fragile trust. The night was not over. The beast still hunted. But for the first time, Marcus felt the fire of purpose burn stronger than his fear. The forest thinned as dawn touched the sky with pale light. Marcus had carried the princess's daughter most of the night, his arms aching but his grip steady. They had escaped the stalkers, though their distant howls had followed until morning. The princess walked beside him, her silver eyes tired yet unbroken. Soon, the trees opened to reveal a vast cliff. Below, mist curled over the valley floor. Carved into the cliffside was a dark entrance, its edges marked with glowing symbols older than the war itself. The princess stopped, her breath catching. "The Temple of Velara," she whispered. "I never thought it truly existed," Marcus frowned. "What is it?" "A place of prophecy," she answered. "A place even my people fear." The little girl tugged at Marcus's sleeve, pointing to the glowing carvings. "It feels alive," she said softly. Marcus stepped forward, scanning the entrance. The air was colder here, heavy, as though the stone itself breathed. Against his better judgment, he led them inside. The tunnel opened into a grand chamber. Pillars rose high, etched with glowing lines that pulsed faintly, like veins carrying light. In the center of the chamber stood a stone altar, covered in carvings. Marcus approached slowly, his weapon ready though no enemy stirred. The princess traced the symbols with her fingers, her voice trembling. "These are words of my ancestors. They speak of the uniting of two worlds." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Unite? After all this bloodshed?" She looked at him. "The prophecy says, a child of royal blood, shielded by a stranger of iron heart, will bring peace where war has reigned." Her daughter tilted her head, eyes wide. "Is that me?" The princess pulled the child close, kissing her hair. "Yes, my star. It has always been you." Then she looked at Marcus. "And the protector?" "It is you." Marcus laughed dryly, though unease crept into his chest. "Me? I'm no savior. I'm just a soldier who made a mistake by speaking too loud in front of guards." The princess's voice sharpened. "No, you chose to stand between us and death when you had no reason. That is no mistake." Marcus looked away, staring at the glowing altar. He felt the weight of her words pressing down. A human protector tied to alien royalty. If his commanders heard this, they would brand him worse than traitor. And yet, when he looked at the little girl's hopeful eyes, he felt something he hadn't in years: purpose. Before he could speak, a deep rumble shook the chamber. The glowing lines flared brighter. From the shadows, stone statues along the walls stirred, their eyes glowing. Guardians of the temple, awakened by their presence. The princess grabbed Marcus's arm. "They test the prophecy. If you are not the protector, they will destroy us." The first statue stepped down, its massive stone fist smashing the ground. Dust rained from the ceiling. Marcus raised his weapon and fired, but the blast only cracked its surface. The statue kept moving. The child screamed. Marcus pushed her behind him, shouting, "Stay back." He dodged a strike, the stone fist slamming into the floor where he had stood. His weapon was useless. He looked around desperately. The princess shouted, "The crest! Use the crest I gave you." Marcus pulled the glowing pendant from his pocket. As he held it high, the light pulsed, stronger than before. The statues froze. Slowly, they sank back into place, returning to silence. The chamber dimmed again, leaving only the faint glow of the carvings. Marcus stood breathless, the pendant burning hot in his hand. He looked at the princess. Her voice was steady now. "It responds only to the true protector. The prophecy has chosen you." The child ran to Marcus, wrapping her arms around his leg. "You saved us again," she whispered. Marcus swallowed hard. He looked at the pendant, then at the princess and her daughter. He had only wanted to survive, to escape the ruins. But now something greater bound him to them, and as the temple grew silent once more, Marcus knew his life would never belong to him alone again. The morning sun rose over the valley, its light spilling into the mist like fire on water. From the cliff above the temple, Marcus, the princess, and her daughter looked down at the plain below. The enemy had come. An army stretched across the valley floor, rows of alien soldiers, their armor gleaming, banners rising high. At their center stood the alien king, tall and ruthless, his crown like sharpened steel. His voice thundered across the valley. "Return the traitor princess and the child. Return them now, human, and I will let you live." The little girl clutched Marcus's arm, her small body shaking. The princess stood close, her silver eyes steady but her lips pale. She whispered, "This is the end. If we go to him, he will kill us quickly. If we stay, we die fighting." Marcus's jaw tightened. He looked at the child, so small, so innocent, and then at the princess, who had trusted him when no one else did. He thought of his own daughter, lost long ago, and how he had failed her. He would not fail again. He stepped forward, his voice rising, echoing across the cliff. "You want them? You'll have to come through me." The king's laughter shook the air. One human against an army. Marcus raised the glowing pendant high. Its light flared, brighter than the sun for a moment. The alien soldiers faltered, shielding their eyes. The princess gasped. "The prophecy!" The king snarled. "Kill him. Kill them all." The army surged forward. Marcus turned to the princess quickly. "Stay behind me. Keep her safe." But the princess shook her head. "No, we fight together." She pulled a blade from her cloak, her hand steady despite her fear. The child clung to Marcus, whispering, "Don't let them take me." He knelt briefly, pressing his forehead to hers. "Never." Then he stood, weapon ready. The first wave of soldiers charged up the cliff path. Marcus fired, each blast echoing across the valley. Stones shattered, bodies fell, but more climbed over the dead. The princess struck at those who came too close, her blade flashing in the morning light. "Marcus!" She shouted. He turned just in time to block a strike aimed at the child. He slammed the soldier back with the butt of his weapon, then fired point blank. The soldier crumpled. The battle raged on. Marcus fought like a man possessed, every strike driven by memory, grief, and fierce resolve. The pendant at his chest glowed brighter with each act of defiance, as if the prophecy itself fueled his strength. But the enemy was endless. The king himself began climbing the cliff, his massive form cutting through the chaos. His voice roared, "You cannot stop destiny, human. The bloodline ends today." The princess stood beside Marcus, her eyes fierce. "No, it begins today." The king reached the summit, his blade raised high. Marcus met him head on. Their weapons clashed with a sound like thunder. The force drove Marcus to his knees, but he did not fall. He pushed back, his teeth gritted, sweat running down his face. The pendant blazed suddenly, flooding the cliff with white light. The king staggered, blinded. Marcus drove forward with all his strength, slamming him back. The ground shook as the king fell to the edge of the cliff. Roaring in rage, Marcus stood over him, weapon aimed. "Touch them again," he said, his voice like steel, "and you answer to me." The king's eyes burned with hatred, but fear shone there too. He gave a guttural order. The army below froze, uncertain. The princess stepped forward, lifting her daughter high so all could see. Her voice carried across the valley. "The prophecy lives. The royal bloodline endures. And the protector has come." The soldiers hesitated, their ranks breaking. Murmurs rose, doubt spreading through the army like fire. The king roared in fury, but his power was slipping. Marcus lowered his weapon slowly, his body shaking with exhaustion. The little girl ran to him, wrapping her arms around his leg. "You did it," she whispered. He looked down at her, then at the princess, whose eyes shone with tears. For the first time in years, Marcus felt something more powerful than war hope. He whispered, half to himself, half to them, "We're not just surviving anymore. We're beginning." The valley grew silent. The army no longer advanced. The king's power was broken, and the prophecy had begun. And Marcus, once only a soldier, now stood as protector of a princess, father to a child, and the human who would change two worlds forever.